color or never the same color or something like that, because NTSC systems have a terrible habit of just never really producing the same colors for two people on two different TVs. Anyway, the races are off, so enough about color standards or TV standards. And we can move on to the race at hand here. And yeah, it definitely looks like there is a difference in quality. I didn't know whether LarviStar is on emulator or perhaps plays with like RGB video or something like that. But Stewie Cartman definitely looking like he's on composite video. But I said enough of talking about color and TV standards. We're on to this race, and both players ran through 1-2 without picking up power-ups. So, as I was saying, we know that LarviStar likes to go small only. Cartman, however, it's looking like he's going to be doing one of maybe a few strats. I like that they both stopped to kick a shell, but they stopped for different shells. And then, interesting little slowdown from Cartman there. However, LarviStar with an early death in 1-2 there. One thing that we very, very often say commentating these races is that 1-2 is honestly like an extremely difficult level to do with small Mario, which is why you do see a lot of runners go for power-ups in 1-1 and at the start of 1-2, because 1-2 is just such a tough level to get your small Mario through. Stewie Cartman, though, makes it through. He picks up a power-up in 1-3, which means we still don't know exactly what he's doing, but it's not small only. We know that. It could be small fire. It could be big fire, but it's probably fire. I don't think anybody runs big only strats. That would be something different. But here we go. The moment of truth. Stewie Cartman runs past the power-up in 1-4, meaning he's going to be looking to set up the small fire glitch. So, all right, it looks like I've got something to talk about through World 2-1 here. So, Stewie Cartman is setting up this glitch here where, boom, he hits Bowser and the axe on the same frame. What that does is it reduces his HP to being small, vulnerable Mario, but it didn't actually make him small. He's now Biggie Smalls Mario, where he is vulnerable and will die to one hit. But if he grabs a mushroom, now he's Smally Big Mario. So now he's small Mario, but can take a hit or grab firepower. Boom, small fire Mario completes the setup, and now he has the advantages of being small Mario with the tiny hitbox and the advantage of having fire. So it takes a little while to set up, but it is a way that many players like to prefer to play while they're doing a race, because of those advantages. It can be a lot safer. But the setup is costly. As we saw, LarviStar, off of a 1-2 death, still has almost caught up to Stewie Cartman now, just blazing through the levels without stopping at all. So, so there you see kind of the extra setup that it takes. The other thing about small fire that is a little risky is that the glitch persists through taking damage, just not through dying. But what that means is that if Stewie Cartman gets hit, he becomes Biggie Smalls Mario again. He becomes a large Mario that will die if he gets hit. And that's just a very precarious situation to be in as a racer. So hopefully it doesn't happen, you know. Hopefully both runners get through the whole game without making any mistakes whatsoever. But if mistakes are made, it's a treacherous situation when you're Biggie Smalls. But there we go, both runners through 2-2. I didn't quite see the timer for Stewie Cartman, but LarviStar got a beautiful 3:09 on the timer, almost 100% optimal on that race, or on that level. So that may have closed the gap depending on what Cartman did, but unfortunately I wasn't paying enough attention. Ooh, swag cheat bop from LarviStar there. So one interesting thing about the way that this game works is basically, when the game is asking like whether you've stomped on an enemy, you know, when you collide with an enemy, the game considers you to have stomped on an enemy's head just as long as Mario is moving downward, which means that if a cheap comes down on top of you, but your Mario is moving downward, you will actually bop the cheap as if you jumped on top of it. So that's always really fun to see. You can see some neat bullet bill bullet bill kills that way as well. So here's our first Bowser, where we kind of see one of the big differences between fire and well, not fire, which is that if you fire kill a Bowser and then hit the axe, it skips the Bowser or the bridge collapsing animation, which ends up saving firepower strats some time. That's actually the sole reason, really. I mean, there's other reasons, slightly, but that is the actual main big reason where firepower is definitely faster when played 100% optimally, is the fact that that you skip those bridges. So LarviStar with that ending of 3-1 there is super tough to do. It looks like he went for a really fast stair climb there, but then got Eye of the Koopa, as we say. But there, nails the strat that time, finishes out the level, and that is good. But yeah, so you might be asking, you know, if I'm saying like definitively fire is faster, then why would anyone not be using fire in a race? The reason is it's a race. Anything can happen in a race, and a lot of people can get hung up by getting hit, and then they have to recollect power-ups, or like I was saying about the small fire glitch, getting hit is like then puts you in an extra precarious position where you might end up wasting more time if you get hit to Big Mario and then try to recover, fail, and die later. You know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds of things that could go wrong with fire that could end up slowing you down. And if you're a runner who's just more comfortable with small Mario, that can end up being the way to go for you. There's a few runners who do small only, yeah, put up very good races. Ooh, weird bounce for LarviStar there. So LarviStar landed on that Koopa, and it bounced him, which then gave him very few frames to then be able to jump off that tree, which ended up being too little, and he ran off the edge. So that's one of the many things that you got to pay a lot of attention to with this game, is when it's actually bad to land on an enemy. I feel like it's an aspect of this game that's not often talked about, which is just that when you bounce on an enemy, it bounces you, which takes a few frames of Mario being in the air and not able to jump, right? So a lot of the time, you're intentionally having to jump just past enemies, and if you accidentally land on them, you might not have enough time to react to get another jump before like the end of a platform or something like that. Something that we'll definitely come back to when we get to level 7-3. Enjoy that one. Meanwhile, though, LarviStar making up good time here. Took an unfortunate game over, which meant that he had to start World 3 over. If you don't know, this game actually has a somewhat secret continue function, which is simply that if you game over, you go back to the title screen, but if you are holding A while you select one player game, it actually resumes you from the first level of the world that you were in. So that's what happened to LarviStar, redoing World 3 now. Blazing through World 3 though, definitely making up that time with really good play now. Stewie Cartman, on the other hand, blazing through World 4 here, getting to some tricky, weird stuff. The difficulty curve definitely starts to ramp up around this part of the game, where 4-3 just has some really weird, tight jumps, and also a really advanced strategy that's able to save you some extra time if you do these super tight jumps. So that can be... It's a level that is a little tricky for you at first, and then at top level continues to be tricky because it demands perfection. One of those levels, you know. And then 4-4 is a bit of an odd level in that at the start there, it's really difficult not to die if you just run right, which you're kind of tempted to do because you're playing Mario. And then on top of that, it's a maze level, and then on top of that, you've got one of the trickier Bowsers in the game. Stewie Cartman, excellent job reading that Bowser. It was forward jumping, so he ran under it, shot him from behind, which is another kind of just interesting thing about like the deep levels of strategy that come out in this game, or reaction times, which is that the Bowsers can be really difficult to beat fast. I was talking about how fire killing a Bowser is faster because it skips the bridge collapsing animation. But that really only is true if you're fast at killing the Bowser. Because, running past Bowser, jumping over him, that kind of thing can be very, very fast. But slowing down just enough, aiming all of your shots properly, and that kind of thing can be a huge factor in your race time at the end. So a big part of that is, like, as the Bowser spawns in, the player has to read, is he jumping backwards? Well, then you have to behave this way in order to get him. If he's jumping forward, you have to behave a different way in order, usually a backward Bowser is where you kind of shoot at him as you approach him, slowing down just enough not to run into him in the meantime, while a forward jumping Bowser means slide under him, shoot him from behind. And then there's other variations as well, on top of all the other business that's around, like maybe a Potaboo or a Fire Bar, or just the fireballs that are leading up to him. There's another thing about when you shoot your opening shots as you approach Bowser. I think that'll be a good thing to talk about in 5-4 here. Take very special notice of exactly when Stewie Cartman shoots these fireballs as he approaches Bowser here. LarviStar makes it through World 4 beautifully, by the way, getting into World 5 here. So Stewie Cartman slows down a little bit to manipulate these fire bars, then performs the elevator jump here. Now, as he jumps up here, fireballs... Oh, he didn't shoot opening fireballs. Maybe... The approach to World 5 Bowser is so tricky that I actually don't shoot the opening fireballs a lot, because it can often just make me lose momentum or that kind of thing. Because the thing is, you have to release B to shoot a fireball, which means if you don't do it exactly correctly, you're going to lose momentum and jump slowly, which on the 5-4 Bowser approach, that can get you hit by a Potaboo, it can drop you into a pit, it can get you hit by Bowser's fireballs, any one of those things. Any one of those things can happen, so sometimes it might be best just to forego that. So perhaps on the next Bowser, we'll see the opening shot. All right. And meanwhile, so it looks like we've got about a world difference right now for these two. 6-2 is a really, really interesting level as far as... it's one of those levels that you kind of see a lot of different people have a different route through. Some people stay on the bottom the whole time. Some people kind of zigzag up and down. One thing universally, though, you got to slow down intentionally a little bit. We'll see Stewie Cartman, slow down just a tiny bit on his approach there. That avoids getting a 3 at the end of the timer, which would get you 3 fireworks and waste a second. 6 on the timer gets you 6 fireworks, which wastes 3.5 seconds. So it's just something to avoid in general. LarviStar killing it on World 5, by the way. I didn't really talk about just how hard World 5 is while Stewie was in it, because I was too busy yakking about opening shots on Bowser. But World 5 is a huge brick wall as far as overcoming for your runs. Ooh, nice forward jumping Bowser. Quick read from LarviStar there to know to slip right under him. Waste no time getting to that axe. That looked great. So here we go. Stewie now in a castle here. Does the firebar manipulation on this level as well to be able to run through these as quickly as possible. Here come the opening shots. No opening shots! Okay, there might be a good... Oh! Okay, so 6-4 Bowser likes to throw a lot of hammers. But the problem is that the NES can't really make that many hitboxes very quickly. So what happens is Bowser throws a bunch of hammers. Then you shoot fireballs, and the system is like, hang on, this is too many hitboxes. And it starts lagging, and you get a bunch of lag frames, which kind of causes that part of the game to go in a little bit of slow motion there. And then on top of that, Bowser gave Stewie a really trolly pattern there, where he jumped over one of Stewie Cartman's fireballs. And if he jumps over a fireball, you gotta wait for that fireball to travel all the way across the screen, causing lag frames that entire time because of the hitboxes. By the way, LarviStar is killing 6-2 right now, I just gotta say. Excellent job. So that the thing is, Mario can only have 2 fireballs on screen at once. So if Bowser jumps over one of them, that means not only in 6-4 particularly are you going to get more lag frames, but Cartman also then had 1 less fireball to shoot at him when he jumped up for the axe, causing him to hit the axe without fire killing Bowser. Sorry to spend so much time on like on a mistake, you know, but it's just there was a lot to unpack in that 2 seconds of gameplay. LarviStar, unfortunate death in 6-3 here. One of definitely a really tricky level for its platforming. All right. And then on to 7-3 here. Remember what I was talking about accidentally bouncing on things and then not having time to jump? This is the level where that really comes into play. You see, Cartman is shooting out these fireballs to take care of these Koopas. If you don't do that, then you have to jump behind the Koopa in order to then jump. But these cheeps can actually pop up and turn the Koopas around under your feet, causing you to land on them, bouncing you into a pit. So that's another just tiny thing, seemingly tiny thing, but it can mean the whole world if you make one little slip up. So one just excellent thing about this game is just the way that, like, every level just has this thing about it, you know? That this is the level where you have to do this thing. For example, LarviStar is in 7-1. Ooh, I shouldn't have even started to talk about it, because 7-1's got the Hammer Bros. It's got all these dang Hammer Bros, as well as a lot of cannons on the ground, just causing a lot of just general nonsense, a lot of business for you to have to deal with. And yeah, definitely one of the harder levels, I would say, for a small only strat. Not being able to fire kill Hammer Bros is a pretty big deal. Cartman having a really good run here. He is into 8-1 here. And as far as little things and levels, check out these Koopa bops that he does right there. Those are very specific. That causes those second 2 Koopas, as well as the Goombas and the Koopa afterward, to spawn in a certain way that lets you get by quickly. Again, just another one of those things where it's like every level's got this thing, right? And 8-1 is also a level where you don't want to slow down at all. But because this is a level where you can get through without slowing down one bit. That'll get you a 200 on the timer. Cartman gets it, 200 on the timer. Beautiful 8-1 performance. LarviStar makes it through 7-2. One of the underwater levels, 7-2 is, so that's treacherous. Excellent to see. And then World 8 is where things get particularly scary in a race setting, because this is when the checkpoints go away. So any deaths, not that I wish that upon anybody, but any deaths that might happen actually send you all the way back to the beginning of the world. Nice cheap dodge from LarviStar there. Got a really low cheap, but perfectly handled it, where he released A at just the right time to duck under the cheap, but also make the jump to the next platform. So one thing that you might not necessarily like, this is really fundamental and obvious, but like, you got to think about it, is that not only, oh my gosh, Cartman took a hit and now he's Biggie Smalls Mario, so he might look big, but if he takes a hit, he's a goner. But there he goes. Nice strat there. So he ran past the Hammer Bros to despawn them off the left side of the screen, then went back for the power-up. So really good safety strat there. You know, it took a little bit of time, but it was very safe. Ends up taking a hit at the end there, but he had that safety mushroom to make it through to 8-4. So now we'll see how he tackles 8-4. 8-4 doesn't have any power-ups in it, so I'm really curious to see whether he actually goes for the Biggie Smalls 8-4, which could very riskily end in a, you know, like if he takes a hit here, it'll send him back to the opening of the level, which means he needs to do underwater section as Biggie Smalls Mario, which is one of the scariest things that you can do in a speedrun, if you ask me. Yeah, Biggie Smalls water section. We'll see how it goes here. LarviStar's making good progress in 8-1, as we see that. But here we go. So he initiates Duck Swim. We have Duck Swimming Mario. Looks like he's playing it real safe on that fire bar. Definitely doesn't want any mishaps there. Nice duck under that fire bar. Don't be a dash retro and get hit by it and just walk right into it. And here we go. Duck jump so he doesn't get hit by that hammer. Duck jump under the Potaboo. Oh, and he goes for the jump through the hammers to try to get the sub 20 time. And that puts Cartman you got to respect the jump. He went for the sub 20. Maybe could have waited for Bowser and gotten it, but he went for the optimal strat there of just jump through the hammers and hope for the best. However, it ended up hitting him. And he's back in 8-4 as Small Mario now. Meanwhile, LarviStar, I think, took a death. I think I saw it in my, but then was talking about hammers. But oh yes, it was on the brush pipe there, which is pretty much the hardest part of this whole game. The BBBB ended up putting him into a plant. But there we go. Stewie Cartman finishes up with a 20:46 on the timer. Excellent run. Very fun to watch. Very fun to watch. Small Fire is always a pleasure. LarviStar here, making it through 8-3. One of just a really, really fun level to watch small only, since the player has to do so much reading of these Hammer Bros. You see these kind of early jumps over them, and the reason for that is just like that, so that you can recognize when and where the Hammer Bros decide to jump. That one did a really early jump, and you saw LarviStar see that, release A in order to come down on top of the Hammer Bro. In order for a nice little drop kick there. So that looked great. And one thing that I started to say earlier, but didn't really have the time to finish, is just the way that, you gotta appreciate that this game isn't just about timing jumps. It's also about timing when you release your jumps. So really, every single jump is twice as hard as it looks, because you also have to know when to release. That comes into play a lot with those swag kind of things like those Hammer Bro kills. So LarviStar is making it through the water section now. Ooh, beautiful pass under that fire bar there, and under that one as well. Coming into the final room now. Jump for the Hammer Bro, under the Potaboo, under the Bowser. Excellent forward jumping Bowser there, onto the axe. And LarviStar finishes up with a 22-16. Good game to both. And speaking of good game to both, I have Stewie Cartman actually here in the commentary booth with me. How are you feeling?
I have no idea what I was thinking the first time in 8-4 challenging Bowser without a power-up.
I mean, I was honestly a little surprised that you even went for Biggie Smalls 8-4. I'm not a small runner myself, but I half expected an intentional death right away.
Thought about it.
Yep.
I really did.
But hey, if you had made it through the hammers, that would have been a sub 20 time. So how are you feeling about the run overall?
There's a couple of mistakes I'd like back. One of them being the 6-4 Bowser fight. I'm not sure if there was a sprite limit problem, because I was trying to mash after I ran under him, and nothing happened.
Yes, so what I saw happen was at least one of your fireballs missed him. So then that one was having to travel all the way across the screen, right? I wonder if it was two really close to each other, or if maybe just only having one fireball at a time also just might not have been enough, right? But don't worry, I spent a good minute and a half explaining to chat why that was just brutal.
At that point, I'm like, okay, either take the hit and lose fire, or just take the small time penalty for not killing him.
Yeah, for sure. So I noticed I kept talking about opening shots, and then I kept not seeing you shoot them. Is there particularly a reason that you forego in 5-4 not shooting opening shots? Is it just a risk? Is it just a risk factor?
I just haven't practiced opening shots enough, where to fire the first shots.
Okay.
I don't really have any visual cues yet.
Yeah, and that makes sense because right, exactly, because if you take the time to release speed to shoot your opening shots, then you might lose some momentum, and in 5-4 that can kill you. In 6-4,
Right.
you can get extra lag frames and that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely makes sense. And that because that was the thing is I only started talking about it approaching 5-4, and 5-4 is like the one that you don't. If you're
Right.
gonna pick one castle not to do it, it's that one.
Yeah, definitely. And then that A2, did I get a troll Koopa on that stair? Because I usually don't get hit there.
Oh
If I
yeah,
stand there and wait.
yeah. The ending of 8-2 is just generally one of the trolliest parts of the whole game. Yeah. Are you talking about the staircase Koopa?
Yeah, where I was at the end and I got hit.
Yeah. So that Koopa, right? I can see. You see many different things for that Koopa to do. Sometimes it jumps straight in the pit. Sometimes it's extra high, or that kind of thing. Which I don't know if you've heard about or practiced like BBBB at all. But I
Yeah.
think like the sole purpose of BBBB is to get that Koopa to be predictable. Or maybe not the sole purpose, but that's a big reason for it. Is that Koopa always behaves the same way when you do that setup.
Okay. I'll have to mess with that.
But yeah, otherwise, it was a super solid run. Like, it was a pleasure to watch. Looked very good the whole time, and like I was saying, besides the incredibly respectable and ballsy challenge to Bowser at the end, that would have been a sub 20 run, and
Yeah.
it was really fun to watch. All right. I don't see LarviStar coming in, so without that, I would just say, do you have any closing thoughts?
Nope. I got
No?
nothing.
Well, that sounds good. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. These races are always super fun to have people watching. And speaking of, thanks to SpeedGaming for allowing people to watch. And to Rupert and the other admins as well for hosting the tournament. Everything is good. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope to see you on the next race.